Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining today's webinar. We'll go ahead and get started here in just 1 minute. Give anybody else a chance to join if they'd like. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. So for today's call, we're going to be talking about Woven's Knowledge Center feature, policies, procedures, shared links, employee manual that operations accounts can share with their team members. The first feature that we're going to talk about for today is policies. What I want to do first is show you how team members acknowledge policies that you've sent them. Team members will receive notification that they have a new policy to acknowledge. On both mobile and desktop, they'll have something that indicates, so here I have 16 policies in this training account to acknowledge. If I click on that, I see there's a list of all my policies. If I click on one, uh, this is the content of our policy. If allowed, I can download it. I can acknowledge once I'm done reviewing it. That removes that policy from my list, right? So that dropped from 16 to 15. Over here on my home screen, that also dropped from 16 to 15. So that's for team members, it's pretty straightforward. They acknowledge the policies that are assigned to them. For management or ownership, how do we manage policies? In this little building icon, I have it minimized, is a policies option, policies management. These are all the policies in our account. We have one started here. I'm just going to go ahead and use it. To create a new policy, we would hit add policy. But for today's call, I just went ahead and started getting one set up. We have our name, what version this is, what is our content. So this is our and then we keep filling in that information. We can add attachments. We can add images or additional files that we want. We can add images here as well. So if we want to insert an image, we can. If we want to insert a video, we can. We can add hyperlinks and then all of the word editing functionalities there as well. On the right, we have our settings for this policy. So who is this policy for? We can make it for public, which is everybody in our organization, or we can make it targeted. So we can, in targeted, get very granular about who has to acknowledge this policy by location, by teams, right? Teams that I'm in, I can target. Locations I have access to, I can target. I can also do all locations. And then by position, right? So everybody in Woven has a position, what they do at your location. So we could have a policy that's just for our managers, right? Our managers and our assistant managers. Or it's also for everybody, right? If we're going to do all in all, I would suggest just doing the public, but we can do it this way. So let me just change this for a second so we can talk about the next option. So we've targeted all of our locations and assistant managers and general managers. The allow manual send override. We're going to look at here in a second how we can manually push a policy to a team member to acknowledge. What this question is asking is, can I or can somebody send this policy to somebody not in this targeted group? Can I send this to a team member if needed. Right? So we're going to go ahead and say yes. And then does this policy require acknowledgement? Yes or no? So you may have a policy that doesn't, but that is probably less likely. You probably do have policies that need to be acknowledged. And then you can also set up re-acknowledgement. So does this policy have to be re-acknowledged on a recurring basis? And Woven will track. If I acknowledge my policy today, if we have it set at 30 days, then on August 23rd, I have to acknowledge it again. If Lauren acknowledges her policy tomorrow, then her 30 days would be a day later than mine. There's also the custom. So what we see a lot of is the 360, 340 or 50 days, right? Giving team members that buffer of a couple days to get policies acknowledged. And then are we requiring re-acknowledgement if we create a new version of a policy? So we would create our policy. We have preview options so we can see what this policy looks like on desktop or mobile. We'll drop down here. We can download this. We can dismiss acknowledgements, disable or delete the policy, and we can publish it. So we're going to go ahead and publish it. Please note, if you publish a policy or when you publish a policy, these do not immediately get sent to the targeted team members. This will run overnight. Woven will process who's targeted for what policies and send that to them then. So just please remember that's not a bug, that's intentional functionality, the way the system was built to work. As this goes out to team members, we will see our insights update with how many team members are targeted, how many team members have acknowledged or not by location. We can review our content. We can create new versions. We can review the settings. We can't change these, but we can review these. Little drop down, same options. If we want to send or review policies that an individual team member has acknowledged, we can do that through the team member's profile. So underneath the gear icon, there is an option for team members. Go ahead and click on that. Can search for my team member, so we'll just use, yeah. And then we see we have a policies tab. So on the policies tab, every policy that I've been sent shows up here. So there's a lot that I haven't acknowledged, right? There's 15 that I haven't acknowledged. Any policy that a team member has acknowledged, we can click on the date, and this is going to download a policy acknowledgement. So if I click on that, it's going to say, hey, Lucas acknowledged that policy. This is the policy key. Every policy and every version of a policy in Woven has a unique identifier. What my position is, my username, my email address, when did I acknowledge it? So date, time, and then this acknowledgement key is generated every time the acknowledge button is pressed in Woven. Right? It's a unique identifier that connects this team member with this policy, and it is assigned to that button press. This can be used to prove that team members acknowledged a policy at a previous point. Beneath that, we actually have the content of the policy that is text. So if you have attachments, those don't show up here. If you have images or videos, those aren't going to show up here. It's just the text of your policy. For those, we see I have a lot of the unacknowledged policies. If I had a lot and you needed to review all of those or save copies of those, instead of having to click on every date, there is an acknowledgement packet which will just combine. I mean, this one was like 2 pages, depending on how much content is in your policy. It'll just combine all of these PDFs into one larger PDF instead of forcing you to click on those dates individually. The other thing we can do here is we mentioned the ability to send policies to team members on a one-off basis. So if I've had a conversation with my manager about time off or dress code, any policy that I don't have already pending my acknowledgement, right? If it's not, I already have the attestation form, I can't get it again. Policies that I have acknowledged or have never acknowledged or was never assigned can get sent to me. So that was the PTO policy. I have a task assigned to me. And if I come look, I should have, I guess we have a couple PTO policies in here. That has now been sent to me to acknowledge. The last thing for policies then is team members additionally can review policies that they previously acknowledged by going to Knowledge Center and going to the policy section. Also from here, these are all buttons you can bounce around. But I can see here policies that I did acknowledge at some point. If I click on one, it's going to open that policy. It's exactly like what I see if I'm acknowledging it, just without the acknowledge button here, right? This is just where team members can review policies they already acknowledged. In Knowledge Center policies, this is where we can also add handbooks. So if we have employee handbooks, we can add these here. This is what team members will see without the like add button. We can add multiple handbooks now. Handbooks can also be targeted to specific groups. So if you have specific handbooks by position, you can target those to just that position. Handbooks that are added to Woven are displayed as PDFs. So if I see the one that is published here, what team members will see is just that handbook. If you need to update it, you can, but you'd have to update the entire handbook, right? We can't make just an update on page 8 or something of this document. Okay, so that's it for our policies feature. While we're here in Knowledge Center, we can take a look at a couple other things. Procedures. So if policies are our organization's rules, what our standards are, what we enforce. Procedures are how we do things, right? How do we clean the bathrooms? How do we update a form? How do we create the form, right? It's less strict, doesn't require acknowledgements. It's how do we do that task? Every procedure has a category. The categories then get collected into these big buttons. So in general operations, I see I have how to stock a massage therapist room or closing procedures for the front desk. Procedures can have multiple categories, in which case, they'll show up in multiple groupings. Right? Team members can come in, oh, hey, there's our emergency protocol, and they can review that. There's options to see it as a list or slide through those. If we want to add a new procedure, management and ownership will have an add procedures button. I can give it a name. So We can give it a category. So what category should this be in? Let's save that. Once it's here, we can click on our edit button. Right? We can give it search tags. We can choose frequency. So maybe this is more of an as needed. Can add cover images, makes it look a little snazzy. By default, procedures are visible to everybody in your organization, but you can, say, hey, this is just for my managers if you wanted to. And then we just start creating the steps of our procedure, right? So step one is what? And we would say, you're notified by, you're notified by your district manager. And then we can click edit step, and we're going to see a very similar text editor as what we just saw with policies. We can add hyperlinks and images, videos, right? That automatically saves. I can preview it. If I close that, right? And I can add another step. So what's step two? Right? And you have the same option. And you would just keep creating steps for whatever procedure you're trying to document. If you ever need to delete a step, you can click the red trash can. That is permanent. There's not a way to recover that if you delete a step. You can also grab the little hamburger icons here and drag steps around. Right? And it changes, right? So notify your team is now step one, notified by your DM, step two. That way, if you need to make updates, you don't have to delete a bunch of steps and then add new steps, right? You can drag them to the correct order. So once you've created all of your steps, you can go ahead and publish it. And now that procedure is available to whichever team members you've targeted or to your entire group. You can also delete the entire procedure up here with the red trash can icon. Regarding procedures, there's a couple of buttons here that managers and owners will see. Procedure insights lets us see how many procedures we have, how many views, how many searches. So in this training account, not a lot of searches. But the neat thing with searching is we will see down here top searched terms. So you can keep an eye on this once you have your procedures set up and see what is your team searching the procedures for. You can use this to direct maybe where you need to highlight something better in your initial training. You can also see which procedure has the most views. So our emergency protocol has 13 views, which is 37% of all of our views. So maybe that's something we need to discuss more. Some other things in our Knowledge Center to highlight or talk about, shared links. Shared links are a way to easily link to an outside resource, right? So if we have like a Google form or a training, some kind of other training manual, if I click on that, it's going to open up in a new link. Somebody used my Zoom training link, and it just opens in a new tab. Team members will not have the edit or the add button, right? They can just click on these to open that up. adding a shared link is very straightforward. Right, so maybe this is our supplies and it just goes to Amazon. Maybe we have a direct link and we add that. If the shared link has a favicon, that's the little thing up here in the corner, Woven will go grab that. We can also specify if this link should only be viewable by certain groups or certain positions. And if we go back out to our shared links, we should see that that's there now. I click on it, opens up to Amazon. If we need to delete, that was the wrong button, sorry. If we need to delete a shared link, there's in the edit button, there's a little red trash can. We can also change the name, the description, the actual link. We can click the red trash can. Because of how easy it is to just add shared links, they can't be recovered. They're not saved. You can just go add that Amazon link again if you need to. So the last thing we're going to talk about for Knowledge Center then is file library. So file library is where you can add files to share with team members. If we go from Knowledge Center file library and we have access, it's going to take us to the management page. Right? So these are files that we've added. Not every file is shared with our team members, right? We see some are and some aren't. We can add a file, can drag and drop. Random image I have here. For our images, we need to provide some additional text. Can add tags. So it's 2026. This is an operations file. Right? It's training. And we can add that. So this is now in our file library. If we come out, right, there it is. It's unpublished. We haven't done anything with it yet. We want to share this with our team. On the visibility tab, we can, is this public? Is this for everybody in our organization? Or is it, again, targeted, just like what we saw with policies and procedures, by location or by team? And does it expire? So by default, this is blank, but if your document or image or video that you're sharing, if you think about like marketing flyers or a sales flyer, it may expire. So you could add an expiration date when the group that you've shared the document with no longer has access to it. So based on our settings, everybody in this account, this will get shared with until the end of this month, and we can publish that file. And then this updated and shows that information. If we click on the team member view, it'll take us back out to where we were. These are files that have been shared with our team. If we click on, these are categories just like what we saw in procedures. We click on one, hey, there's that file we shared. There it is. And we can download it if we need to. That is it for Knowledge Center for Woven this afternoon. I hope everybody found this beneficial, and I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great week. Thanks.